Super Sunday. Y'all know who the fuck I'm cheering for. I got that black and white Carolina blue on. Anyways, what I want to talk about real quick is something that you can include into your strategy to maximize your return on investment of time and effort. Like I always talk about, that's all the fuck I talk about is just getting the best return for your investment. So as it relates to building muscle and getting stronger, one thing you might want to include into your strategy, as crazy as it sounds, is flexing, contracting your muscles. Because what's the difference between doing an exercise and just flexing your muscles? The only difference is under one condition, the muscles are under load. In the other condition, they're unloaded. So flexing is basically just doing an exercise without any fucking weight. Now you can use this to your advantage because there's a few distinct benefits. Number one, flexing illustrates or demonstrates that you have control over your muscles. Your capacity to recruit them is obviously very, very high. So you can use flexing to increase your capacity to recruit muscles. If you can do this, then when you do your exercise, when you flex your muscles under load, you can recruit and fatigue more of them to a greater degree. So you can include flexing wherever the fuck you want to help develop that connection with your body, develop that connection with your muscles to increase your capacity to recruit them. But it doesn't stop there. There are some very distinct benefits to why you might want to include flexing during your workouts. So if the only difference between doing an exercise and flexing is that the muscles are under load in one condition and in the other condition they're not, that would suggest that the muscles are performing the same type of action. So when they're contracted, irrespective of whether or not they're under load, the intensity of the contraction will determine whether or not anything can get in and out of that muscle. So if you contract your muscles as hard as fucking possible, blood's not going to be able to get in, which means oxygen's not going to be able to get in, which means nutrients aren't going to be able to get in. You're going to block all that shit out. And then when you allow the muscle to disengage, it's going to flush in. So you can promote a greater pump by flexing. In fact, if you just held a contraction right now for 45 to 60 seconds and you let go, you might have a sense of a feeling that that muscle is getting pumped to some degree. Now, is this to suggest, you know what? I was going to go to the gym and pump my arms today, but I'm just going to sit on the couch and just flex for an hour and I'll get the same response. No. That's a chicken shit effort, and the results bank will tell you to go fuck yourself. You're an idiot. You can't trade in chicken shit efforts and ask for real results. It doesn't work like that. But you can include things like flexing into your strategy to help maximize your return on investment of time and effort. And here's how you do it. During the exercise, the muscle is contracted under load. You put the weight down, keep the muscle contracted. Just flex. Hold that position. Instead of just resting and doing fuck all and looking at your phone or whatever it is that people do, keep the muscle engaged. You'll promote a greater metabolic stress response, and this will help promote growth in its own right. The greater response that you promote, the greater growth that your possible or potential to get in return from your efforts is going to be. So what you do is you do your exercise, you put the weights down, flex, keep the muscles engaged. You might even be able to contract them better without the weight, which would indicate that your capacity to recruit them is better without the weight. So if you're doing it without the weight, you might be able to transfer that ability to when you pick the weight up and do it again. But the real benefit here is that all the metabolic waste that will accumulate during your set, you don't let blood in to flush that shit out after. So yes, this will hinder performance. You will not be able to lift much weight, but remember why you're doing what you do. If it's to promote a metabolic stress response, it's not about the weight. It's about keeping the muscles under constant tension. So you do your set, you put the weights down, you keep the muscles engaged to the best of your ability for 45 to 60 seconds, and then you do your set again. And then you just repeat that process until all your sets and reps are done. And by the end of it, your muscles will have been under constant tension. Let's say if your work takes 5 minutes, they'll have been under constant tension for maybe 4 to 4.5 minutes. That's going to promote a greater growth response. You're going to get more pumped because of it. Because when the muscles do disengage, there's going to be more blood there trying to get in because the body's a reactive organism. It's going to say, what the fuck, we can't get in. So more blood is going to show up to try to clear away the metabolic waste that's just accumulating on the other side of the wall, and more blood and more blood. And then when it disengages, it just flushes in, boom. Pumped. That's how it works. Now, if you really want to take this information to the next level and you want to build the most amount of muscle possible, what do you got to do? Recruit and fatigue as many muscle fibers as possible throughout a muscle's entirety. So if you did 3 exercises back to back to back, and in between them you were flexing as hard as you could, whatever muscle that you're training, what's going to happen is you're going to try to overload the muscle in its longest position, in its shortest position, and in its mid-range, and in between you're flexing and contracting the muscles so it doesn't have an opportunity to disengage. So you're going to promote a greater recruitment and fatigue of that muscle. So that's something you might want to include into your strategy to maximize your return on investment of time and effort. So remember the benefits again. Number one, the difference between flexing and doing an exercise is that the muscles are contracting against a load or they're not. So contracting the muscles in an unloaded situation might help you increase your capacity to recruit your muscles when they're in or under a loaded situation. And then number two, when the muscles are engaged, nothing gets in, nothing gets out, so you can promote a greater metabolic response. So you might want to include it into your workouts directly instead of just sitting around resting and doing absolutely fucking nothing. You like this information, feel free to share it. Click the fucking button at the bottom, subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to keep bringing it. And if the Carolina Panthers win, then for the next 5 videos that I put out, it'll be episode 1 to 5 of Impose a Demand Week, because that's exactly what the fucking Panthers did all fucking year.